this is going to be the tarot readings for the air signs. That's going to be Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. So, first I'm just going to use the singing bowl to clear the space. Great. And now we're going to do some breathing exercises. So I'd like for you to breathe in and hold and exhale and breathe in for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and hold and exhale. And we'll do one more. 1, 2, 3, 4, and hold. And exhale. Great. Great job. Great job. Sorry about the noises in the other room. We are in the process of getting ready to move. So the tarot cards I'm using this week is the Cosmic Tarot by Norbert Loesch. And we will be starting with the sign of Gemini. So Gemini, if you would, just take some deep breaths and relax, and go ahead and set your intention for the reading, and allow any concerns that you have that you'd like to address in the reading to float gently up to the forefront of your thoughts, and just let them wait there patiently until it is time to address them. And if these are things that you find stressful, Gemini, I invite you to gently breathe through that tension, that rough energy and discomfort. So take some deep breaths in. And as you breathe in, imagine the divine white light of Source entering your body through the crown of your head, filtering through the whole body, down through the soles of the feet, into the ground below. And then as you exhale, just sigh out any of that tension or stress or discomfort. It will return to source and it will be transmuted. Okay. And let's get started with your reading. Okay. And I will write down the timestamp. So Gemini, let's start in the past. We have the Five of Cups there. And this Five of Cups is in the upright. So we have some symbols here that we've been looking at throughout the course of the week. We have this red flower here on the table. The red flower can represent the profane in magic. So we see a lot of the white flowers versus the red flowers throughout the tarot. And here we have that the red flower of this woman's sensuality has kind of withered and faded, possibly with time. This person doesn't have a lot of gray hair. They do perhaps have a few more lines on their face. Maybe they've found out they cannot bear children. All of those things are possible. But the Five of Cups, we also have all of these chalices here, and they're tipped over and empty. Now the chalice, while it is a symbol for emotions, and the water representing our emotions contained within the human vessel, the chalice can also represent the reproductive capability in the passive sense. So the active sense would be represented by things like the wands or the swords. But the passive reproduction and the womb or the uterus would be represented by the chalice and sometimes by the pentacles. So here we see that fertility has been spilled or poured out or isn't just no longer available. And this Five of Cups is a card of disappointment. So this doesn't necessarily have to be about reproductive sterility, Gemini. It can also have to do with feeling like your fields are barren. It can also have to do with feeling like you don't have a lot of financial resources available to you. Even though this is the card of cups, it has to do with our emotions. But it doesn't mean that we are devoid of emotion. It means that there is disappointment around something in particular. And it could be just about anything. Now, this card is in the upright in the reverse. So, Gemini, what that means is that disappointment is something you have carried with you into the current state of affairs. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you are still licking your wounds about it, but it is going to be heavily informing a lot of the decisions you're going to be making at this time. And we have some interesting cards here in the current situation to go along with that. So we have the Hermit card, which is Virgo's card in the major arcana. You and Virgo share a ruling planet of Mercury. So some similarities there between you. Virgos, I think, are much more solitary than Geminis. We see here the divine light of Source being drawn down compared to the sun, which we see kind of here peeking over the horizon. We see these stars on the hermit's robes. So the hermit being somebody who is heavily inspired by the divine light of Source, their communion with Source, and goes about expressing that as this light of enlightenment that they shine to others. Now, it's very interesting that we do see some of this light reflected off of the moon, but the moon is very dark in this representation on the Hermit card, and all around it is very dark. We do have the symbol for Jupiter, expansion. We have the symbol for the sun, which is about success. We have this symbol on the forehead, which I think has to do with the Om, but I'm not very well versed in Sanskrit, and so I don't want to speak definitively on that. If you know more about it than I do, please let us know down in the comments. We have this little bird here over on this rock, seated on this rock. And the little bird over here is very dark also. So even more so than relying on this light up here, the divine light of Source, the scene itself that the hermit occupies relies upon this enlightenment, this light for illumination. There are a few different light sources in this painting, but this one is the strongest, and it is coming through the hermit. That is the hermit's channeled energy of the divine coming through. Now, the hermit has removed themselves from the general populace such that they do not interact with the commoners, with other people, with any kind of frequency, and have removed themselves from the public in order to maintain that clarity of vision and that connection to Source. So in this situation, Gemini, you might have removed yourself from daily life due to this disappointment possibly, but are still kind of shining a light to others. This could be something that you're putting out online. You could be writing a book or publishing a book. You could have I don't know how many people have blogs anymore. I'm sure people do. But this is crossed by the Prince of Wands. Now, this is a very interesting energy to be our crossing of the significator, Gemini, because the Prince of Wands... Oh, hi, Malik. Thank you for coming. It's good to see you. The Prince of Wands is fire of fire energy. So we have contrasting with this very dark card with the Hermit, where we have this one source of light. Then we have the Prince of Wands crossing that. This could be Leo energy. So as a Gemini, there's not a lot of relation between the signs of Gemini and Leo. It's a little too close because you only have one sign in between. So it'd be kind of like a sextile, perhaps. We have the sun up here, and indeed, this is a very bright card. Fire of fire energy. This is a lot like Ace of Wands energy also, that the energy burns very hot and very bright. So it could be that you've removed yourself quite a bit, Gemini, but whatever this light is here, it's burning very hot and very bright with the energy of the sun itself. It could be very full of fervor. It could be something that has gained a lot of traction very quickly. So all of those are possibilities. And of course, as this is a general reading, you will have to trust your own discernment on that and how it applies to you. So now down here in the Imam Sili, that's going to be right below the significator. And it talks about all of the situations, the origins, and the foundations that are going to lead to what we look at in the midheaven, which is going to be above the significator. And the card in the Imam Sili is the Four of Pentacles. This card is appearing in the upright. The Four of Pentacles is about conservation. We do have this person who they could be an insurance broker. They could be someone working at a bank. We also have here this person in the foreground who has their head kind of lowered. We can't quite tell if they are in mourning, but the attitude of their posture suggests that they might not be feeling their best. They are not wearing black, which would definitely indicate mourning. But if this is a bank or an insurance office, the Four of Pentacles is an indication of a need to conserve resources. So it could be about saving. It could be about putting money aside into a 401k, increasing your deductions from your paycheck every how often you get paid for your 401k. It can also indicate a need to curb spending or stop going out as much. All of these things are possible. And the Four of Pentacles does not mean that you don't have resources. It just means that you need to hold on to them. And this showing up in the Imam Sili is very good. I will tell you that the card in the midheaven is in the reverse. So that is telling you that this is very important at this time, Gemini. From your perspective, we have the card of your opposing sign, Sagittarius, showing up in the reading. It is the Temperance card. So Temperance, of course, is a card about practice, patience, development, but more so the practice and patience behind developing a skill over the long term. It can have to do with moderation and balancing your life. And of course, that takes practice also. Former addicts might tell you that they have to quit every day. And of course, if you want to get better at an instrument or a foreign language or anything like that, it is important for you to practice on a persistent basis. We have these yellow jonquils over here. So remember what I've been saying about the flower imagery in this deck, and the white being the purity, the red being the profane that is incorporated into magic. There's a certain amount of that as well. The yellow flowers can sometimes have to do with our cognition. So for example, on the sun card, there are some little white flowers that are a little bit tinged with yellow. You could see that as your first memory. and these jonquils being bright yellow. And I don't know how many of you have smelled jonquils or daffodils. A lot of people, I love the smell of those flowers. It's very sharp, almost astringent, and very definitive. Once you've smelled it, you know. And this is the reinforcement of that practice. Now, this card is showing up in the reverse for you, Gemini. You might feel like you haven't practiced something enough, whether it's saving, whether it is putting your energy out, putting the light of your enlightenment out into the world without getting burned out. And of course, still kind of getting over this disappointment, right? So, where we have the Temperance card in the reverse, you may be feeling unrehearsed. You may be feeling impatient about something. But it does seem like you have self-awareness around this, Gemini, which is, of course, a good step in the right direction. From an outside perspective, we have the Star card in the reverse. And the Star is, of course, Aquarius's card, so a fellow air sign. Aquarius being fixed air energy. Look how similar the Star card is to the Temperance card. We have a similar, they're both kind of looking off to the side and not watching themselves pour out these chalices, right? We also have these diadems. We have the light source on the same corner of the card. Both of these cards are showing up reversed. On this card, the companion, the avian companion is a flamingo. On this card, we have, it looks like a little sandpiper or something. And we have a flock of birds in the distance. They could also be sandpipers, possibly. The foliage that we have, so we also have this little pink flower peeking out from over here. We have a lotus blossom here. So we have the pink of the flamingo matching the pink of the lotus. And the lotus does deviate from what I said about the color schemes of the flowers within this deck. And it's important to understand that because lotuses are an entirely different modality. They are very important to Eastern traditions and are more a flower of Genesis. Now, I'm not super familiar with that modality, so I'm not going to speak too heavily on it here, but it is important to make that distinction, that there are deviations in this deck. What is the significance of both of these figures kind of looking off to the side, almost like they're looking at each other? But we're viewing them from different angles, but their body posture is very similar. And we have similarities on the Star card here to the way that the lights are set up on the Hermit card. So the Hermit card then having similarities to the Star card, that perhaps you are becoming a star from afar, that you are shining brightly at quite a distance and keeping yourself detached from others. And that would be part of the message here, is that others see that you are very detached. And especially from one's social groups, as I said, the Star is Aquarius's card, and Aquarius is of the 11th house having to do with social groups. And that is going to be holding you back from your hopes and dreams in the eyes of others. If you are achieving these hopes and dreams, other people are not perceiving that about you at this time. And I do think that because of how these two cards are coming out, that we are seeing two opposite sides of the same situation, and that the key to getting out of this situation is conservation of your resources. So here in the future, we have the Five of Wands. And this card is upright. You can see that we've got these two guys that are dressed like they're in 50s street gangs having a back alley fight with some wands. One of the wands has fallen on the ground, perhaps indicating that this person is ahead or that he will eventually be the victor. We do have the red here on the card, in this case indicating those strong emotions of anger, of belligerence, bringing a warlike energy into this card. The Five of Wands, though, they are not actively trying to kill each other. For one, they have wands in both of their hands. So you can see that they're much more treating this as a combat sport than they are like in hand-to-hand to the death conflict. Because if that were the case, I think that probably both or one of them would have dropped one of the wands so that they could get a good grip on the other person. Just something about their attitudes shows that this is more like a competitive sport. So in the future for you, Gemini, you're going to be trading this Five of Cups, disappointment, for the Five of Wands, competitiveness, combativeness, possibly entering a situation where you are in active competition with others, possibly rising up through a ranks system. There's going to be a certain amount of bouncing ideas off of other people such that you all influence each other in a particular way. And the potential also is there with the Five of Wands that others may try to take your ideas and claim them as their own, or find a way to claim your ideas and change them just a little bit to make them that perfect, that much more perfect. So here we are looking at the Nine of Wands in the reverse, in your hopes and fears. And the Nine of Wands in the reverse, it's about letting your guard down. As you can see, we have these walls that are kind of made up, these fences made up of wands, guarded by the cobra, guarded by the lion, guarded also by this person who looks very much like Dolph Lundgren. And this is reckoning back also to this Prince of Wands energy. So the Nine of Wands, perhaps you really hope that you'll be able to let your guard down around other people. And that's really going to hinge upon your ability to get over this disappointment, because I do see that it's still very fresh in your heart. So now we're going to look at the midheaven. And of course, the midheaven is going to be the result of this Four of Pentacles. So whatever your capability of conserving your resources, it's going to be probably contingent upon that. And here in the midheaven, we have the Six of Swords in the reverse. So this could be a relocation. We have this person who is dancing. They're highly mobile. We also have the caduceus of Mercury over here. Mercury was somebody who was an emissary of the gods, a messenger and an envoy. So very mobile. And because this card is in the reverse, it could be that the possibility for relocation comes up for you in the future. This would not be an exodus from a situation necessarily, Gemini, but rather going toward something new, even if you don't know exactly what you are moving toward. And the final outcome for you today, Gemini, we have the Princess of Swords. So this is very much like the Page of Swords. It is a very young, possibly immature kind of an energy. It is air sign energy. The pages are pages or princesses are earth energies, and then augmented by whatever element they are. So this would be earth of air, and that represents things being drawn down into the physical plane, into concretion. So emphasizing this conservation of resources such that this manifestation with the page will be able to take place. So the Princess of Swords can be about learning new things, new information coming to you. We do have this falcon here in the foreground, which can represent one's emissary, going out and returning with information. So we have a little bit about that here on both of these cards. We've got the caduceus here representing Mercury. We have the falcon here. Falcons are birds of prey, and so they're able to see from a very high vantage point different prey, even very minute motions that those prey animals are making, such that they could dive bomb and just snatch the creature right up, carry them off. So this Six of Swords too may be contingent upon some new information coming in. And I think this information you may want to come out of hermit mode just a little bit. Not entirely, but put out more feelers. Because with the star card in the reverse, people do sense that you're very closed off. So if that means putting more of yourself out on social media, or in a way where you're not interacting with people face to face, or going to small gatherings, or attending events that are perhaps a smaller scale, I think that you should start putting yourself out there a little bit more, especially to put yourself in a good position when it comes to this Five of Wands in the upright in the future. So that is going to conclude the Gemini reading for this week. Thank you, Gemini, for joining me today. After this live stream has concluded and I've done the other two air signs, I'm going to go over to the members side of the channel and do some crystal scrying with this beautiful piece of turquoise. So if that is of interest to you, you are cordially invited. But of course, your presence is appreciated here on the channel in whatever form it takes. So now we're going to move on to the sign of Libra. Libra. And Libra, if you would like, go ahead and set your intention for the reading and allow any thoughts that you would like to get information about any issues you're having or problems that you'd like to try to resolve with guidance from the reading, just allow those things to rise up to the forefront of your thoughts and wait there patiently to be addressed. And if these are things that you find stressful or they are causing you mental discomfort, mental anguish, just kind of gently breathe through that energy. As you inhale, draw in the divine white light of Source, and then exhale and sigh out any of that discomfort, any stress, any tension, anything that you've been holding on to that you'd like to let go of. And it will return to Source, and it will be transmuted. Indeed, indeed. All right, Libra. So let's see what is going on with you this week. Very interesting. Very interesting. Some Capricorn energies. So let me write down your timestamp quickly. 37 minutes. All right, Libra. So let's start here in the past. We have the Nine of Cups. And the Nine of Cups is about wish fulfillment. And if you look at this woman's headscarf, or this person's headscarf, we have all of these beautiful pink flowers dotted all over it. This youth is about to kiss this other person on the forehead. Their lips are also very red, so we get a lot of erotic subtext to the context of this Nine of Cups in this particular deck. It is a card of wish fulfillment, all 9 of those cups being filled. We have the sun overhead shining brightly, but just enough cloud cover that it is not an overly sunny or hot day that might be unpleasant. We get the idea that this is indeed a very pleasant vignette from both of these people's lives. So this card is in the upright in the past for you, Libra. There is some wish fulfillment that is carrying over into the current situation. And here in the place of the significator, some of you may have Capricorn in your chart, but we do have the Devil card coming out here in the place of the significator. So the Devil is somebody who keeps others in bondage. Oftentimes these people are in bondage that they could escape, possibly with a great deal of work, personal effort on their parts. But the Devil can represent things like addiction, illness, poverty, anything that is ensnaring people. And because this card is showing up in the place of the significator for you, this wish fulfillment may have led to some things in your life that have become a bit problematic for you, Libra. That even though everything is perfect now, sometimes everything being perfect, we are not able to see it for what it is, and it leads us to overthink things. More things are available than before, so we also have crossing the significator, Princess of Cups. The Princess of Cups in this deck is played by the incomparable Greta Garbo. So the pages, as I mentioned in the Gemini reading, are about drawing down things, manifestation into the physical and concrete plane, as the pages are earth energy, and then whatever other energy is depicted in the card by the suit. So we have earth of water energy. This is a fertile energy. The Princess of Cups represents an offer being made. This could be an emotional offer. We have a flower here that is both yellow and blue. So the blue could be seen as water and as the suit of cups and emotion. And then the yellow can sometimes be seen as the intellectual energies of air. So these ideas then being made into an offer and being made concrete. And that tying back in, of course, with this Nine of Cups energy from the past, because that is still upright. That is still very active in your current situation. So there might be offers that are being made to you at this time, Libra, that are leading to temptation or keeping you in bondage. So down here in the Imam Sili, so the Imam Sili is right below the place of the significator, and it represents all of the origins and foundations upon which the midheaven, so that's going to be up here above the significator, all of the origins and foundations upon which that will be built. So down here in the Imam Sili, we have the Four of Cups in the reverse. Now, Libra, it is time for you to act on something. We have an abundance of cups showing up in this early part of your reading. We have these lotuses here, and they're blue. So going along with the theme of the card, which would be the emotional states, right? And we see the Four Cups here. We see this distraught-looking youth out in this pasture with this horse. The youth does have ample food and drink, so that's not what is troubling them. What is troubling them is the choice between these four options. The Four of Cups is more options than you would see with the Two of Swords or the Lovers card, right? Because both of those are also indicative of a choice. The Four of Cups is more about contemplation of where one should go from the place they are currently at. So it is a card also having to do with some meditation and some self-assessment. Those things are also tied up in these energies. But because this card is showing up in the reverse, in the current situation, it is not time for you to be self-assessing, Libra. It is time to act. It is time to choose one of these options, whether you feel like you are ready or not. And really, 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 a heavy theme in the early part of this reading is having to do with the energy of the devil. Feeling burdened by something, or feeling trapped by something, or possibly dealing with addictions, because of course a lot of these cups showing up all together, that could be having issues with alcohol abuse. I certainly don't judge, but all of those things are possibilities. Here in your place of perspective, Libra, this is how you view the situation. We have the Queen of Cups. Now, the Queen of Cups could be how you view yourself in the situation. The Queen of Cups could also be somebody who is involved in the situation that you feel is kind of at the crux of the issue. In this case, the Queen of Cups is water of water energy, so a very pure elemental water energy, and we have Pisces here. So when we see that, things can be a little bit unclear. There's too much emotion that people are all tangled up in this situation. And the Queen of Cups herself does not give a lot of strong indicators as to her own emotional states, but rather is much more focused on the emotional states of others. Now, the Queen of Cups is showing up in the upright here. So for some of you, this person could be your AA sponsor. And they, of course, would not be sharing too much of their own struggles with you, but would be very supportive in your struggles, possibly. And of course, it's a general reading, so the dynamics are going to be different for everyone. She's kind of in the middle of a swamp. So look at the similarity between where she is. This swamp is very tranquil. There's a lot of willows here, but they're very spindly. They don't have a lot of foliage on them. And then we see where the devil is, because this is the place of the significator, Libra. It does look like a very industrial setting. Could even be a shipyard. So I guess rather than look at the similarities, here we have a very serene, but also kind of tepid landscape. And here it's very well defined, it's very harsh setting. We have a lot of the same undertones. Here it's kind of purple because we have those red undertones coming in. Here the undertone is green, but over both we have this bluish cast. So for you to see the Queen of Cups and for the truth of the situation to be the Four of Cups reversed and the significator to be the devil, it does seem like there's a lot of disparity between how you see the world at this time, Libra, and how things actually are. Now, the key is going to be, what kind of things are you getting as offers? Are these good offers? Are they offers that you want? It kind of seems like you're not really getting the offers that you want, and you feel bound by it. And you're not really telling people what you want, Libra. So from the outside looking in, we have the Ten of Swords in reverse. People are waiting for you to make a judgment call on this situation. The Ten of Swords can be a very painful ending, but the Ten of Swords in the reverse can be even more painful because people are waiting for this situation to be brought to a definitive end, and that is not occurring. It's not occurring yet. But in the future, we do have the Two of Swords. So there will be a decision being made. The Two of Swords is about choices, excuse me. And this person does have a very calm demeanor on this card. They do have this feline companion, similar to the very calm and composed demeanors of the lovely water sign court cards that we've already seen in this reading. So even though the pressure is on with the Devil card and the Four of Cups in the reverse, I don't think you are letting the tension of the situation get to you, Libra. I think that you are maintaining your cool in the face of this very important decision that needs to be made. This is the card which represents your hopes and fears. All of these wand cards do have this pinkish tinge to them. The wands, of course, being fire sign energy, so having to do with passions of all sorts. And here we have this person in a state of ecstatic devotion to the higher power. We have lotus imagery here in the sun, and we have the lotus imagery down here below. The Three of Wands is about the energies that you have put forth into the world returning to you. And that is what you are hoping for at this particular time, Libra. That all of the energies that you have put out into the world are going to be reflected back to you threefold. So here in the midheaven, this card is also in the reverse. So this card is possibly going to be contingent upon this choice that needs to be made. And we have the Prince of Pentacles here. Now, of all the pentacles, or of all the princes are fire energy. And then the pentacles, of course, being earth energy. So having that very grounding effect, having the effect of making that fiery energy concrete in this realm. And the Prince of Pentacles being money coming in toward you. The Prince of Pentacles is slower than the other princes, but that does not mean that the Prince of Pentacles is slow itself. The speed in which the Prince of Pentacles brings that money towards you is going to be contingent upon the speed at which you make this decision with the Two of Swords. And the final outcome of your reading this week, Libra, is the King of Pentacles. King of Pentacles is Taurus energy, fixed sign energy. Even though we do have the goat up here, the Prince of Pentacles, I think, is much more Capricorn energy. And oftentimes the King of Pentacles is much more associated with Taurus because of the stability and the comfort-seeking behaviors. So the King of Pentacles in the upright is a very stable financial energy, very established, and is in opposition to what we see here with what other people are perceiving about the current situation with this Ten of Swords in the reverse. Libra, you might also have some Taurian energy in your chart that is avoiding this discomfort of bringing something to an end. But it's important to realize with this Ten of Swords that perpetuation of a situation that is not ideal is going to be more uncomfortable than putting that situation to an end. And whatever this is for you, I think these two cards are very much aligned with each other as well. The Devil and the Ten of Swords. And remember, too, what I said about the Prince of Pentacles and the Devil. So you're going to have to defeat this Capricorn energy of the Devil in order to allow this Capricorn energy of the Prince of Pentacles to come in. All right, Libra, that is going to conclude your reading for this week. I will be going over to the members side of the channel after this live stream to do some crystal scrying with this beautiful chunk of turquoise. So if that interests you, you are cordially invited. But your presence here on the channel is appreciated in whatever form it takes. So finally, we are going to move on to the sign of Aquarius. Aquarius, Aquarius, Aquarius. And Aquarius, if you would like, go ahead and set your intention for the reading and allow anything that you would like to address in the reading, any concerns, any problems that you're having, to rise up to the forefront of your thoughts and wait there patiently. I'm going to shuffle the cards a little bit. If this is something which is causing you discomfort, then gently breathe through that energy. You can inhale and draw in the divine white light of Source. We did have a jumper of the Five of Pentacles, which can be about lack or scarcity. I'm going to put that back in the deck. But as you inhale, draw in the divine white light of Source, and then as you exhale, just sigh out that discomfort, that tension, that anxiety. It will return to Source, and it will be transmuted. All right. So, interesting. Very interesting reading so far, Aquarius. And almost all reversals. Almost all reversals in your reading this week, Aquarius. So let me write down your timestamp. 30. Okay. And we'll get right into it because I'm going to talk a little bit about how the cards have come out before I go through the reading. We have almost all reversals in your reading this week, Aquarius, with the exception of the place of the significator. And both of the cards in the significator are major arcana. And then we only have 3 major arcana in your reading, and the rest are minor arcana. We do have some swords. We got some cups, some pentacles. It's a pretty even distribution of all of the suits. So let's start here in the past. And we have the 3 of Swords. So these figures here on the card are dressed like government representatives. They could be diplomats. They could be politicians. And you see that the swords are penetrating this flower. The flowers in this deck really symbolize our humanity and the extension of the soul outside of the body. These figures might have the intention of destroying that humanity. In the background, we have these billowing, angry storm clouds. The entire overcast energy of the card is very heavy. So it's good, Aquarius, that this card is showing up in the reverse in the past. However, this could be the root of some trauma for you, Aquarius, because the 3 of Swords is a card about dispute, argument, strife between people. It could be loud, angry, yelling arguments. It's not all-out war like the 5 of Swords. And honestly, I haven't been seeing the 5 of Swords a lot lately, which I'm very grateful for, right? That's always good. But this could have been a very traumatic situation for you, Aquarius. And I think you are trying to put it behind you. Now, in the current situation, this is the place of the significator. And this card will represent you in the reading. And the card that we have there is the Justice card in the upright. So we have the balance of fire and water, air and earth, elemental energies in this cosmic scale. We have the yin yang. We have the divine light of source being filtered down through the embodiment of justice and coming out of the eyes, manifesting justice in the world, manifesting justice from this higher plane of the self. We have the sun and the moon evenly balanced. We have this bird of prey kind of peeking over the shoulder. That could be a vulture, as a matter of fact. The head is very pink, as though it doesn't have feathers on it. We do have the white bird depicting purity over here. So the purity of the truth, the purity of justice itself. And here, the rose has the scales of justice now springing out of it. So here, where we had that rose pierced and destroyed, now we have the scales of justice springing forth in the resurrection of this spirit. So justice is coming in for you, Aquarius. And it is coming in the form of the tower. So before I get into the imagery on the tower, notice too that coming out behind the head of the figure of justice, we have a tower on this card as well. Somebody else's tower is being brought down. And you can see here the Eye of Ra dispensing justice in those rays, just like that light coming out of her eyes from a different perspective on the astral plane could very much look like this. We have that sovereignty falling. So for some of you, this could be a court case even against like a state or government entity, a corporation perhaps, that they are being destroyed, and that from that you get your justice. So down in the MMC Aquarius, this is going to be right beneath the significator, and it represents the origins or foundations upon which the midheaven, which is the goal or destiny, and that is up here above the significator, everything that's going to be built upon. And in that placement, we have the Prince of Cups. This is fire of water energy. It is a very scorpionic energy. We do see here the symbol of sovereignty. And this card is in the reverse. We also have a serpent depicted here. Now, serpents can be protective energies also. Scorpions and serpents can be very protective energies, but can also be animals which, because they're so good at hiding, humans often run afoul of them and are injured or killed because these animals are so stealthy, right? So this Prince of Cups would have been an energy of somebody who's thinking with their heart and their gut rather than with their mind. They're allowing their emotions to control their actions. And where this card is showing up in the reverse, that could be very much to the detriment of everyone involved, such that this Prince of Cups might have made things very difficult for those around them. Here in your perspective, we have the Seven of Cups. And the Seven of Cups is about a myriad of different options that have been manifested by this conjurer we see prostrate. And perhaps with the help of an entity that we see in the corner of this card over here. These people are from the Six of Cups. So it's possible that this conjurer was trying to summon past love or something from the past and ended up with all of these various choices and now is somewhat baffled or befuddled by them. We have the crown of sovereignty, taking control of one's life. We have this rose, which is starting to fade a bit, one's humanity and one's sensuality, the act of reproduction. We also have the cup that is closest to the conjurer's reach is a serpent. So, is this a protective serpent, or is that serpent about to bite this person? This card being in the reverse, you might feel at this time, Aquarius, that you do not have a lot of options, that you have, uh, despite your best efforts, become very limited in what you're going to be able to manifest. Here, from an outside perspective, looking in, we have the Eight of Swords in the reverse, and we see these two people. They're standing kind of in a puddle on this island, and they're surrounded by these swords. So they might not necessarily be trapped by the swords, but we also can't tell whether or not they are trapped on an island in the middle of the water. This could be an iceberg, and it could be melting. The points of these swords, if this is an iceberg, it looks as though the points of these swords are heated and they are gradually melting through this block of ice. Now, the Eight of Swords in reverse, people might perceive that you have blindfolded yourself, that you are not actually trapped, that if you feel like you don't have the resources that you need, other people perceive that you do have those resources. Look at the color scheme on these two cards also. It's very similar. The way that the greenish colors at this end of the card melt into bluish tones. This one is a little more purple, but with a lot of blue cast still to it. The idea of it warming up. There's a warming process going on in your current existence, and it could be taking you away from this Prince of Cups energy. So here in the future, we have the Nine of Pentacles in the reverse. We have this figure seated here in front of an open window on their beautiful and opulent estate. They have plentiful food and drink. They are manifesting these pentacles. That divine source is coming down into their body and out through the solar plexus chakra here as these pentacles becoming manifest on this plane. They have a beautiful bird outside of the window, very exotic. This could be a very unique lifestyle. They have these roses here. Again, the human sensuality and the human spirit. They've got a car. Their house is so big that it wraps around. But this card is showing up in the reverse in the future. So you have not yet seen the mechanism by which this will take place. And it could very much be hinging upon your ability to perceive the resources, Aquarius, that you have available to you at this time. Because justice is coming through in the form of this catastrophic event. And this catastrophic event is going to be avoiding you and hitting the people who have tried to disadvantage you in the past. Whatever this situation was is going to be made right again. Here in the place of your hopes and fears, we have the Empress. and she's showing up in the reverse. So we have the Empress is passive energy. She is Venus energy, but also passive energy, associated with the sign of Libra and also with the sign of Taurus. We have this bird who is offering her a berry. The Empress is someone who can wait for others to bring things to her, and her fertility is a passive kind of fertility, such that the act of conception takes place, and then the gestation period begins, and that development takes place over a period of months before the manifestation finally takes shape in this realm. So again, we have the little red blossoms here in the corner of the card depicting sensuality and the profane, and of course the red berries at the bottom of the card echoing that sentiment. But her blouse that she's wearing here shows there is an intellectual understanding of that. So the yellow being a color associated with air sign energy as well. And because this card is showing up in the reverse in your hopes and fears, some of you Aquarians, simply put enough, you might be afraid that you'll never be a mother. There might be fears that all of the work that you have put in to all of the situations in your life are not going to end up paying off, or panning out, rather. That these things, despite all of your hard work, are still being withheld from you, or these things, rather. It could also be that if you have pursued traditionally feminine careers, that you are feeling stifled in that area. So let's look now at the midheaven. And as I mentioned, the midheaven is going to be the result of all of the actions down here in the Imam Sili, where somebody was overly controlled by their emotions to the detriment of other situations. And we have in the midheaven the Four of Wands. So this Four of Wands is a card about celebration. You can see how the wands are set up. It can be about breaking ground on a new building. It can be about buying a house, buying property. It can be a card about marriage. The Four of Wands is an active setting of the foundation. So if you have managed to overcome this situation, being overly emotional, or of being controlled by someone who is overly emotional, then you will have set a foundation upon which you will be able to build your future, and you will have cause to celebrate when we get here to the goal or destiny. But these things are available to you, Aquarius. But there are some things that need to happen first before you're going to be able to fully claim that energy. And again, we have the Queen of Pentacles. Now, the Queen of Pentacles is very similar in energy to the Empress card that we were seeing in the hopes and fears. She even has a little sheaf of wheat here, like we see on the Empress card. This is earth, or this is water of earth energy. So again, a very fertile energy, fertile proliferation. And we have the pentacle rising up out of this pink flower here. So a lot to do with fertility. Again, like the Queen of Cups that we saw in the Libra reading, we have kind of a spindly willow tree out in the back. Not a very water of earth energy would be two passive energies, so not a very active or forceful energy. But this Queen of Pentacles in the reverse, again, this is something that can be a possibility for you, Aquarius. this proliferation of resources. Queen of Pentacles is also very similar to this Nine of Pentacles energy. So we have the big three of girl boss empowerment showing up in your reading here, Aquarius, and they're all showing up in the reverse. And it really seems like you have had your power taken away by this situation that you are now getting justice for. And that this situation very much has to do with somebody who has let their emotions control things. This is a very kind of a devious energy that we're looking at here. That Prince of Cups is going to be somebody who is not very emotionally mature, not very put together. They're more likely to be passive aggressive than they are to be violent or have outbursts. And that can make this Three of Swords that much more devastating, because there's very few things that you can point to exactly and say, this is where I was right and this is where I was wrong. And this is where I need to move forward from. So Aquarius, that is going to conclude your reading for this week. Thank you so much to all of you who have joined me for the live stream, and to all of you who watch the live streams later and leave me nice comments. All of you are so greatly appreciated. Thank you for supporting my channel. I do greatly appreciate too your likes, your shares, and your subscriptions. And if you ever want to know when I'm going live, you can click on the little bell icon next to the subscribe button, and you will know the minute that I go live. I'm going to go now over to the members side of the channel and do some crystal scrying using this beautiful chunk of turquoise. So until I see you again, I hope you have a great week, month, year, decade, etc. And I look forward to seeing you again.